happening. For me and for us as a team, Inception is really a celebration of innovation, disruption. And when we talk of disruption, people really associate it as a negative word. But it is disruption that really leads to the innovation. And it's innovation that really creates the extraordinary. And it's the extraordinary that changes the world and creates the new. So we wanted to dedicate one day and kind of just celebrate that spirit of freedom. But every time you want to change the world, you first need to get your clicker working. And next, you need to have a good corporate lawyer. So we'll be talking a lot about our vision of future. We spent the last 3 years imagining where this is taking us. And then we spent the last 2 years betting everything that we have on what we believed was our idea of future. And as we talk to you, many of you across the globe, we understand that some of these bets we're saying are in the right direction. But today, we hope to see and show you most of that. Now, we really started 8 years back, and we were a little fish in a big pond. And what really was driving us was this innate belief that things had to be different. We really believed that CRM was really more than a call logging solution. We really believed it should be more. We really believed that you cannot really protect the idea of customer centricity if you challenge the very idea of customers as you break it across the various departments with various CRMs. So we really pioneered what we call a single platform CRM, really being on every desktop of your company, therefore enabling the kind of change that you always wanted. And it's just not about our beliefs. We've been looking at trends, and we've been betting on trends for a very long time now. We were born as a cloud company, but 8 years back, we betted on the fact that cloud was not something that you always get in the public domain. We felt it was a philosophy, and ideally, you should not look at it as a business model change, but a technology change. So we built CRMNEXT to work on a public cloud, a private cloud, a partner cloud, wherever you wanted it to work. We also believed, if you believe this is the platform where your customers are going to be served, your workforce is going to be managed, then it really needed to be always on. While we can make many innovations, what is the use if you can't access them in your reality? So we worked hard and introduced concepts like Autobot Upgrade. This is still the number one call or question when we do customer referrals. They still don't believe us that something like this is possible. And what's really amazing is that when we started to work with those visions, with the leaders, the bold vision that they wanted to execute, we understood that we never wanted to go back and say, well, but that's the reality of your architecture. So we took upon ourselves to bring to you one of the best integration platforms bundled with your CRM called the Autonoma integration. And this is really what helped us make you successful. And in your success today, we perhaps have reinvented or trying to reinvent what we believe CRM should do next. So today, just as a check, we run 3 of the top 5 largest CRM installations in the world. We really want to make that 5. We manage more than 230 million customers on our platform. Just to give you an idea, that's more than the population of UK, Germany, France, all put together. And the amazing part about our success story is that customers who bought us, 80% of them had invested in at least 3 CRMs before us, right? And so we're one of those few people who actually love it when somebody sells you CRM because we know we're next. So while we were doing this, we also wanted to make sure that that fortune that you shared with us goes down to the people that matters. So before actually CSR was invented, we were doing these keep in school kind of policies. We adopted schools, work, and very proud to tell you that we've been on it almost for 4.5 years now, 5 years. It's doing well, and we continue to support that initiative. But today, thank you. The big thing today for us is to think of disruption. And I know many businesses, when we have these conversations, really are feeling disrupted, not because they can't so matter understand the changes. They really understand the changes. They're leader. They're very, very bright people. It's really about the pace at which you can react to this. To me, this is a revolution which is really second only to the Industrial Revolution. This rapid convergence of technology and business, which is really threatening all the physical outreach that we kind of created. And that's the perfect storm that we're talking about. At the heart of this perfect storm is really something that you already know, customer connected, own internet to you. The big difference is, a few years back, it used to be on a desktop, probably hooked to some kind of a modem, not always pervasive. Today, it's a machine in your hand that's pervasively connected to internet. And guess what? Unlike PCs, the penetration in your workforce or in your customer is 100%. And that starts to give and fire imagination of what and why do we really need to keep the kind of process we reinvented when you really were going out and getting those farm fields and coming back? What if you could connect this machine to your business machine? And what if you could rethink the whole reality? The other fundamental disruption that is facing business is the fact that for the first time, business spend on IT is equal to consumer spend on IT. So let me build that for you. Last year, businesses spent $3.6 trillion buying technology. 80% of them, that money went to keep the lights on. 20% was initiatives that you were drawing, and I can't really account for what percentage of that was innovation. But on the consumer side, every dollar that we were spending was going into experiencing innovation in your hand. So we were seeing mobile, we were seeing WhatsApp, we were seeing lots of stuff. So there's this space mismatch between what you're experiencing in your personal life and really when you get back to work and you're like looking at, okay, is this really the way I should work? Is this where we are today? And that's the genesis of everything. And it's just not mobile. It's more and more devices coming in on a consumer hand that is kind of challenging the very idea of what we are trying to do as a business. I don't want to, just to give you a basic statistics, this year we'll be selling more than $2.5 million of IoT per second. Okay, just think about the kind of change that's bringing in. And wherever there is opportunity, there are bright people trying to make that change. And I'm going to take some examples. I'm going to start with banking. A, because there are many of them here, and B, because we all use it. We saw amazing models like Lending Club, which kind of connected the borrower and the guy who had money. Instead of going to your deposit, it started kind of a machine platform where you could discover each other. You saw disruptive companies like Wealthfront, which are using algorithms, empowering you to do this impersonal investment advisory, and today manages more than $4 billion. But really, the easiest way for me to make sense for this is what Jamie Dimon was saying. Be aware, Silicon Valley is coming. The reason why this is interesting is that your competition is changing. It's not banks fighting banks. Your grocery store wants your checking account or your saving account. Your taxi company wants your deposit money. Your banks are increasingly becoming travel portals. So where are we going with all this? And it's just not the idea of how we move money and how we save money and operate with that, but it's also the new models that this connected machine device and the social network brings together. Imagine if 5 of us had good driving story, we were good drivers, couldn't few of us discover each other, pool in our money, kind of act as insurance, end of year, give back the things that you didn't use. That's what Friend Assurance does. It gives you back 40% of premium, the unused kitty. So really, people are thinking of very, very interesting ideas, and ideas not just connected with internet and mobile. Probably you heard of that. We got our first 3D printed bridge now, and you can print an ear with live tissues for $10,000. So now would be a good time to fight Mike Tyson. Okay. Now every business needs a consumer. So the big question is this change of consequence and of the velocity that you need it to be? That's the kind of population of millennials you're really seeing in the world today. That's what it will be in 2050. Well, let's just talk about today. The average NPA or the Net Promoter Scores, NPS, in US for a bank is around 54, which is kind of average. The average NPS score of Lending Club is 81. Okay? So people are loving it. There are consumers who are willing to try it. And these are digital natives. They were born in an era. They are much better educated than we were, very smart. And they were introduced to shopping via Amazon. So that's the kind of experience they're looking for, everything that they touch. And if it's just not consumers, the government is not sitting on the side as well. So let's think about it. I really believe that while we may not have the physical infrastructure in India, we're really putting together a world-class digital infrastructure. So let me build this for you. Aadhaar is now 960 million enrollments. It'll be 1 billion by March, which means pretty much anybody who's walking around, you will have an Aadhaar ID. And think about it. It's a social infrastructure that the government is giving you. So you can use biometric to authenticate people and to find them and more information about them. So you don't need to be an Apple, and suddenly this is no longer a barrier to entry. It's taken care of for you. What's really interesting is what the government is doing next, digital lockers. Many people tell me, well, that's a tried concept. We'll give you some space on the cloud, and what you really do is keep your important documents. Well, that's not the exciting part. The exciting part is that every document that the government gives you is going to be there, which means you're going to have your tax returns, you're going to have your filings, your company initiative, and here is the good thing, all of them in XML. So I know the geeks in you kind of really get it. No more eyeballing of the documents required. You could just connect, and if you're authorized, you could just get a trusted version of what the government has, right? The third thing that is really a rock star is NPCI. And it's done many things for you, but what we're really excited about is the UPI. And what UPI does is it really allows you to start to interoperate between mobile wallets. Now imagine today, we're all clamoring to create the largest wallet network because that's how you transfer money. Come UPI, everybody can create a wallet and talk to everybody's wallet. And that's awesome. That's awesome because the selfish interest that the government has, it wants cash out of economy. So all this infrastructure is really focused on how do you remove the cash out of economy. And think of it, so today if you're thinking payments, you really don't need much. All you have to do is keep thinking of how to make this experience really, really frictionless. And if you think India is alone, that's not true. We have over 20 such initiatives by governments worldwide. There's NACHA in the US, there's Zengin in Japan, RPS in Germany. I mean, you just name it, everybody is on it. So think of it, there is a disruption. People are reimagining things and coming up with business models. There is a ready consumer, and the government wants this to happen. That's why we call it the perfect storm. Now, something like this is very interesting to understand because if you want to lead tomorrow, you need to build strategies, and for that, what we have done is we've always kind of tried to understand today. And that's really been the philosophy of the research that we've really worked with for so long. And our business is tough because we really have to bet on some of these trends for tomorrow. And we have to get tools ready for you so that when you start to take action, we can make it easier for you to do innovation and fast track. So there are two principal things that we generally look at. One is the ability to innovate and how hard is it. Leaders are willing to take the hard climb. They have enough confidence and capacity to do that. And sometimes this climb can be difficult for others in the same segment. So we really think of two aspects to this. How hard is it for you to innovate, and what do you call innovation? Imagine if you want everybody to innovate in your company, you have to have a policy to differentiate between what's a good innovation from a bad innovation. In the old days, you used to say, something for which the customer will pay for, that is good innovation. Well, that's really no longer true. And before I get into hardship of innovation, I want the audience to raise their hand. How many of you believe it is hard for you to innovate within your company? It's okay, you can raise it even if your boss is next to you. Okay, so I can see there are many CRMNEXT customers who don't raise their hand. I'll take that as a compliment. Okay, so let's go back and think of it again. What we're really saying is if you really believe in this new machine-to-machine connected world and where you should really stop touching transactions, you're really talking about customer experience in the center of it. And customer experience is really not about the beautiful screens. It's about the velocity at which you can attain your means, which means I want to do a thing, how fast can I do it, and can I do it without training? So if you really understand your customer experience is an outcome of what operations you can run, right? Because that's what fulfillment is all about, the operations that you run. And operation is an outcome of the business model that you run. So if you really want to innovate, there are 5 key things that you want to do. First, you need to rethink of process end to end. I will give you an example for that, end to end, rethinking your process. And what you really want to do is you want to do it faster, without friction, hopefully without eyeballing, hopefully without touching. The second aspect is you really can move a lot of your workload now for robotic decisioning. There's really not much value we add as people, but for probably error rates, biases, sometimes honest mistakes. And that's really driving a lot of process again. And the same millennials that we're talking about as customers are also joining your workforce. Close to 35% of US workforce will retire in the next 4 years. They're going to be replaced by the same guys. And unlike us, they don't have the tenacity and they don't want to have the tenacity of finding information. They want convenience. They want equilibrium between their personal experiences and how they work at the workforce. The customer, on the other hand, is no longer happy calling you and taking a ticket number home. He wants empowered assistance, and question is, how do you do that? And I'm not even going to waste time discussing omni-channel because it's a given today. You have to be across channels and provide it. And of course, we build an index to find out what's your score on innovation and how hard it is to do. But really, let's understand the reasons why some of our customers or some of prospects that we meet in the industry are facing this hardship. Even if you're a new universal bank, do you know that you buy 80 plus systems to boot up? That's how much you're buying just as a new bank, okay? If you're a leading bank, you're probably running 200 systems. And I want to take you all the way to Wells Fargo in US. They run 2,000 systems. So simply, one of the things about companies, we've accessed a lot of innovation as a system. So we've really bought more system. And now we're saying, hey, the innovation is going to be how you simplify, and that's therefore the process end to end. And therefore, the very buy that you did starts to become a problem for us. The second is, as you start to make your strategy, how do you make so many systems aware of that? And between your systems and your strategy, your system wins every time. The third is, on a Fortune 500 company, the average stack age is 20 years old. Fortune 1000, that comes down to 17 years. That means a lot of stack that you so rely on was never built for internet age. Now, this problem is less, I would say, serious as you come to this side of the Atlantic, because we just started a little late. So we had the advantage there. But everything that we talk about, that's your information bus and how it works. And have we really thought of how do we create innovations? Often I hear customers and they confuse digital with a response of campaigns. They believe digital is about making the personal website, but it's really far deeper than that. And therefore, this whole initiative of how do you innovate is really key and central to your heart. And when we started to innovate, we have many engineers wanting to change the world. We created 3 simple laws of what we felt was the business that was going to be the business of future. The first law was how you design your workforce. And the first law reads as, your customer has joined your workforce. Now, many of you understand that because your customer is willing to fill the form. You really don't need it to be digitized in the back end, right? They're willing to recruit other customers if you enable them. But the problem is your customers are not willing to tolerate the systems that require them to work hard and to train. Therefore, the principle of workforce design is, if you want your customers and you want them to give control, and you have to eventually give control, you have to design outside in. The second law is what we call the law of zero. The future is about zero touch, zero turnaround times, and zero rework. So the one and done philosophy and save me my time starts to really drive a lot of experience that you'll be talking about in the future. The third law is really, as I said, what is innovation? And innovation, very simply, is what simplifies your process. What makes it fast, what makes it frictionless, and that's really innovation. Everything else probably is not seen as an innovation from a customer's perspective. And if you really believe in these 3 laws, therefore the next question is, what are we doing about it? Now, being a CRM partner for you, we said, of course, we've always been thinking of what CRM should be doing for you next. And we said, in this new world, how do you design a CRM? And what is the relevance? We all hear CRM is going to be the center, the heart of digital world. And really, do you feel about that? Feel like that for your CRM? Or does it need to change? So we really sat down and answered this question very honestly. And we felt that business is a combination of art and science. There is a science, you buy technology, it's accessible to everybody. But what you do with that technology and your workforce design is really what your business represents, the success or the failures. So this unique combination of art and science is at the core of everything that we've tried to develop. And we understand that you understand how you run your business. And we said, what if we could bring the science more ready to use, simpler, easy to deploy, and take on some of the challenges with you. Before I move ahead, I'm going to show you this little movie that I love to kind of give you a sense of how beautiful it is when art and science comes together. So that really was the principle that we've been holding on to for the last 3 years as we've talked how to disrupt ourselves as a business. And I've always believed the best time to disrupt yourself is when you're the coziest. We were really cozy. Customers loved us. We were running some of the largest installations. We were almost every award that we went in, we won that. And we said, but it has to change. And we spent the next 2 years doing everything we could do to really bring in this enablement of the journey and to make it faster for you. And while you make it faster, we also wanted to make it simpler for you. And this is our take on how we can help you. And of course, when we sit and have that chat, we can do more. But really, if you believe that the future is about giving control of your business to customer, that's really what we are saying. Let him do his stuff. Don't come in between. You really have to start working backwards. There are many ideas that you have, and you need to know how to implement it. And how can we fast track those ideas in reality? So I'm going to give you 5 ready-to-use innovation, systems of innovation, each one deep enough to take your entire revolution ahead, but 5 of them to help you fast track your innovations today. Many of you who've done this journey or are going through this digital transformation journey will understand it's as much about people. How do you coax them to change? So we're going to give you 3 examples of modelers that you can use to really change people and align them with what you want to do. And in the end, we'll also tell you some amazing frameworks on how you can move to empowering your customers faster. So really think of innovations we show you. 2 of them are customer-facing. 1 of them is really workforce and how do you work with workforce while protecting your investments. But at the core, if I had to say what we did in 1 line, we said, why does CRM need to be an internal-facing tool? Think of it. You build processes. You give it to your people. What if you could open that process and give it to your customers? Why do you want to build? Why do we build for each channel? Why can't it be one? And what will it take to make that happen?